To collect his bonus, Elon Musk has to do two small things: put 1 million people on Mars and make SpaceX worth $7.5 trillion. There is no deadline on either one. I'm Kelly, and this is Flow Finance. We follow the money behind the headlines. No hype, no noise, just where the money actually moves. This week, SpaceX went public at $1.75 trillion, the largest IPO in the history of the world, 2.5 times bigger than Saudi Aramco, the oil company that, quite literally, pumps money out of the ground. And the very same week, on paper, Elon Musk became something no human being has ever been: the world's first trillionaire. Not the richest man alive, the richest man who has ever lived. Every oil baron and railroad tycoon in history adjusted for inflation. Nobody else even comes close. SpaceX, for the record, loses around $5 billion a year. Funny how those two facts sit right next to each other. Because what investors are buying here is not really a business. It is a civilization. Mars. Orbital cities. The survival of the species. So here is the question we are actually here to answer. Is SpaceX the most important company of the next 100 years? Or the most expensive way ever invented to bet on one man's obsession? By the end of this episode, you will see the targets buried in that filing. You will see the single clause that means shareholders can never fire Elon Musk, even if he drives the whole thing into the ground. And you will see the one machine the entire trillion-dollar dream is quietly resting on. And the part that stays useful long after today: 3 questions that let you judge this, or any hype cycle that comes next, all by yourself. Every number you are about to hear comes from the filings and the public record. The jokes are mine. All right, let's get into it. To understand the price, you first have to understand the promise, because SpaceX is not selling you a rocket company. It is selling you the future. Start with what is real, because plenty of it is. SpaceX is, by a wide margin, the most important space company on Earth. It launches more rockets than every other country on the planet, combined. It figured out how to land a booster and fly it again. The thing everyone swore could not be done. And it built Starlink, thousands of satellites beaming internet down to places that never had it. That part is a genuinely great business. So when I tell you the numbers get strange, hear me clearly. I am not saying the company is fake. I am saying the price is doing something the company is not. Now look at what Musk actually promised in writing to the regulators. Because to unlock his pay package, he set targets. And these are not normal corporate targets. A normal target sounds like, grow revenue 15%, hit a margin, ship more cars. Musk's first target is to put 1 million people on Mars. Not a person. Not a small base. 1 million. That is a city about the size of Dallas, on another planet. The second target is to take SpaceX from $1.75 trillion all the way to a valuation of 7.5. Sit with that number for a second. 7.5 trillion would be worth almost twice the most valuable company that exists on Earth today. One company. Oh! Nearly double the biggest company alive. And there is a third target: build data centers in space with a capacity of 100 terawatts. Here is the only comparison you need to feel that. Every data center on planet Earth today, all of them stacked together, runs on somewhere between 1 and 2 terawatts. So the goal is to build, in orbit, roughly 50 to 100 times the entire computing power of the world. It's filed under stretch goals. And here's the part the company quietly admits in its own paperwork. It describes these milestones, the Mars colony, the orbital data centers, with one specific word: improbable. Their word, not mine. So the company is dangling goals it openly doubts to justify a price you are asked to pay in full today. But here is the detail that should stop you cold. None of these targets have a deadline. Not one. Not by 2040. Not by 2060. The document simply says, at some point, which is a remarkable way to write a goal. I, too, will become a billionaire. At some point. So what SpaceX is selling is not a forecast. It is a dream with no clock on it, and it is asking you to pay one of the largest prices in the history of markets for that dream. Right now, today, and the way it went public tells you everything about how this price was built. When most companies list, they sell a big chunk of themselves to the public. SpaceX sold almost nothing, around 4%. That is one of the smallest slivers any major company has ever floated. And there is a quiet trick hiding in that. When you only sell a tiny piece and demand is enormous, the price of that tiny piece sets the value of the whole thing. Sell 5% into a feeding frenzy, and suddenly the entire company is worth 1.75. It is a masterclass. Not in engineering, in scarcity. It priced at $135 a share. It opened at $150. By midday, it had spiked near $177, up 31%, brushing a $2 trillion valuation. It closed the day up 19%. A company that loses $5 billion a year, briefly worth $2 trillion, before lunch. And the float, the part you could actually buy, was about 4%. The other 96 stayed exactly where Elon wanted it. So let's talk about that price properly, because this is where the story turns. Last year, SpaceX brought in around $19 billion in revenue, real money, growing fast, somewhere between 30 and 40% a year. That is a strong business. The problem was never the business. The problem is what they are charging you for it. At $1.75 trillion, investors are paying almost 100 times that revenue. Let me make that absurd for a second. Rank SpaceX by market value, and it is one of the most valuable companies on Earth. Rank it by actual sales, and it would barely crack the top 200. Down near the company that makes your breakfast cereal. The difference being, the cereal company makes money. Because SpaceX does not. Open up the business and you find 3 pieces. There are the rockets. The famous part. They lose money. There is Starlink, the satellite internet. That is the crown jewel. It actually turns a profit, a few $1 billion a year. And then there is the part the company now shoves to the front of the room, artificial intelligence. Because of course there is. It is 2026. Everything is an AI company now. In its own filing, SpaceX pins the overwhelming majority of its future opportunity on AI. The rockets, the thing that made it a legend, get quietly moved to the side. So follow what is actually happening here. The one business that genuinely works, Starlink, is being used to subsidize everything that does not, while management points at Mars and points at AI to justify the price. Add it all up, and last year the whole company lost almost $5 billion. Since the day it was founded, it has piled up more than $40 billion in losses. Again, not my opinion. That is just the page. And clearing that valuation slots, SpaceX straight into rare company. The market already calls the handful of trillion-dollar giants the Magnificent Seven. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, and the rest. Now there are 8. The difference is, the other 7 got into that club on an ocean of profit. This one walked in on a story. Now here is the clause almost nobody is talking about. The one I promised you at the start. When you buy a share of a normal company, you get a tiny piece of power. Enough shareholders, unhappy enough, can vote to remove the boss. That is the deal. That is part of what your share is for. In SpaceX, buried in that filing, there is a provision. The chief executive can only be removed by holders of a special class of stock, Class B. And guess who controls the Class B shares? He does. So to fire Elon Musk, the only person on Earth with the votes to fire Elon Musk, is Elon Musk. Think about what that actually means. If he makes bad calls, if his attention drifts to his other companies, if his reputation drags the brand through the mud, you, the shareholder, have handed over your money and kept essentially none of the control. And this is the same man whose late-night moods move entire markets, who is running an electric car company and a social network and a tangle of government contracts all at the same time. He is, without question, the single greatest asset this company has. He is also a risk you are not allowed to do one thing about. And before you decide it is just space nerds buying this, understand why it lands in your lap too. A trillion-dollar company does not stay in some corner of the market. It gets swept into the index funds, the retirement accounts, the pension that is quietly investing on your behalf while you sleep. If you own almost any broad American stock fund, the moment SpaceX joins those indexes, you own a slice of this bet. The Mars targets, the no-deadline promises, the unfireable CEO, all of it. And this is not hand-wringing. When the filing landed, the people who run America's largest public pensions, the funds investing for teachers and firefighters, actually wrote to SpaceX to object. They could see precisely what they were being handed. A company where one man holds 85% of the votes and everyone else holds the risk. You did not choose it. It just shows up in your portfolio, riding in on its own size. And there is a bigger board this is all playing out on. Because space is not just a business story anymore. It is a geopolitical one. We have seen this before. The first space race was the United States against the Soviet Union. Flags and rockets and national pride. The new one is the United States against China. And this time, it is about who controls the high ground. Satellites. Lunar bases. The south pole of the moon, where there may be water. Which means fuel. Which means a gas station on the way to everywhere else. And the American side of that race runs straight through SpaceX. Government launch contracts. NASA. Defense money. A river of public funding flowing toward one private company, which is part of the bull case, them, and part of the risk. The same government writing the checks can change its mind. So that is the company, and that is the price. Now, let's talk about you. Because the most useful part of this whole story is not SpaceX at all. It is the pattern. We know how this movie ends, because we have already seen it. Twice. Go back to 2021, the last space boom. Virgin Galactic, Astra, a dozen others, all promising the final frontier, all going public in a frenzy. $10,000 in the hottest of those stocks turned into about $217. Astra peaked above a $2 billion valuation and later sold for $30 million. Across the sector, roughly $50 billion in paper wealth simply evaporated. The rockets were real. The losses were also real. And go back much further. The 1800s. The railroads. Railroads genuinely changed the world. They rewired entire economies, built nations, created enormous and lasting wealth. The trend was completely, undeniably real. And a staggering number of the investors who funded them were wiped out anyway. Because being right about the future does not protect you from paying the wrong price for it. A real revolution and a good investment are two completely different things. So here is the part I actually want you to keep. Long after you forget every ticker in this video. 3 questions. The same 3 every single time the next big thing shows up. 1. Does it make money today? Not someday. Today. If the answer is no, you are not buying a business. You are buying a promise. 2. What does the price already assume? At 100 times revenue, the market is not betting the company does well. It is betting it does perfectly, for years with no slip-ups. 3. If it all goes wrong, what can you actually do about it? Who holds the power? And what is the one thing the entire story depends on? Ask those 3, and you can walk into any mania, space, crypto, AI, whatever is next, and see it clearly while everyone around you is buying a feeling. And for SpaceX, that 3rd question has a very specific answer. Because almost the entire trillion-dollar dream rests on one machine, Starship, the giant next-generation rocket. It is supposed to fly hundreds of times a year, carry the next wave of Starlink, build those orbital data centers, and eventually carry people to Mars. It is an extraordinary vision. There is just one small detail. Starship is still figuring out how to land without exploding, and the $1.75 trillion price assumes it works. On schedule, at scale, with no surprises. History has a pretty firm opinion on whether rockets ever work exactly as promised, exactly on time. If that one machine slips and rockets always slip, the math behind this whole thing starts to come apart. Now, to be fair, because this matters, let me give you the strongest version of the other side. SpaceX dominates its industry like almost no company in any industry. Starlink is growing fast and already profitable. The government needs it. And betting against Elon Musk has made a lot of very smart people look very foolish for 2 decades straight. That is a real bull case. It is not nothing. But here is the bear case, in one sentence. You are paying a perfect price for an unprofitable company, run by a man you cannot remove, betting on a rocket that still explodes, to reach a goal with no deadline. Both of those things are true at once. And the price you pay decides which one you are actually buying. So where does the money actually move? Because there is always a quieter answer than the headline. In the gold rush of the 1800s, most of the people frantically digging for gold went broke. The ones who got rich sold the shovels. In space, the real, boring profit right now is not in the moonshots. It is in the unglamorous plumbing. The satellite internet people pay for every month. The launch contracts that get paid no matter whose rocket wins. The suppliers who sell to every side of the race. The dream is what they put on the thumbnail. The shovels are where the money quietly lives. So here is the real question I want to leave you with. Space, as an industry, is almost certainly part of the future. That part might genuinely be true. But this is the future, and this is a good price, are two completely different sentences. In 2021, the future was real. And investors still lost $50 billion believing it would pay off by morning. SpaceX is not selling you a stock. It is selling you a thesis about civilization. The trouble is, a thesis about civilization still has to fit inside a brokerage account. The rockets are real. The losses are real. The man is brilliant and unaccountable at the very same time. And the only thing standing between all of those facts is a story with no deadline written on it. Your job, as the person watching the money, is not to decide whether you love space. It is to decide whether you are buying a business or buying a feeling, because the market will happily sell you the feeling at 100 times sales. That is it for today. If you made it all the way to the end of this one, you are exactly my kind of person. I'm Kelly, this was Flow Finance, and I will see you in the next one.